For as much as we love NFL football, and believe me, this show we do, week one's already come and gone. Week two is here. It's New England, Seattle week. That's why Alex Larson, the 12th man, the biggest Seattle Seahawk fan in the world I know, is here with me. The sticker's on the bottom for the NFL. But before we get to NFL, let's talk a little bit of college ball, you know? I have a take that I've been sitting on for a while, and I feel like the last few years you always kind of knew who, and no pun intended to your school, but who the big dogs of college football were. This year, I feel like with the 12-team playoff and with a lot of uncertainty around the country, it's kind of open season to who's the true powerhouse.
Yeah, so far, I think we can still agree that Georgia, until someone decides to beat Georgia, Georgia's top dog.
No pun intended.
Yeah. Alabama, as much as Kalen DeBoer, aka over here, Kalen DeJudas, I think Alabama's still going to run a pretty tight ship there. Hate to say it, even though they have started off slow out of the gate, and I'm happy about it, but I don't think it's going to last long. I think Oregon's another team, as much as I just hate to say and clench my teeth they're saying it. Oregon's probably another one of those teams that can really, really do some damage. But you think about it, even guys like Tennessee, this is going to be a really fascinating year just because of the 12-team playoff. And are we going to see an upset in there? We might. I hope we do. But I tell you what, man, right now, until someone proves to me that they can beat Georgia, I think Georgia's just got it hands down so far.
When I say like top dog, I mean in the sense of like I can see them winning. Another team I think that's right there as well. Put the horns up.
Texas,
Right there. Huge win in Ann Arbor last week, which I still think Michigan's just like hey, you're still going to be a good team, but look, you're coming off a national championship where half your talent's now in the NFL and your head coach and your defensive coordinator, and it's just this whole thing. I love the points that you bring up though too, where it's like Alabama, I want to see them play legit competition before I truly judge them. Georgia, it's just they're going to be there. It sucks. I know everyone's saying October 12th, no weddings, nothing there. Georgia, Alabama, I have a wedding to go to that day, so I'm kind of like, oh,
Come on.
I know.
Who scheduled that?
I know. Hey, look, in Canada, it's a little bit different, so it is what it is. But the biggest thing with college this year is just the fact that, look, I mean, with the changes going on, the fact that you have so much division realignment, now that you guys are going to be making these long trips east and other teams are going to have to be going all the way west. Yeah. You have the ACC, which now is like Cal and Stanford, I believe in it. It's a really crazy dynamic to which I think it could pay off. But as well, the only other thing I have to say of the 12-team playoff is I think people are going to be banking on a March Madness upset. Every March Madness, it's always, I know who's this year's Cinderella. You're going to see that once every 3 to 4 years in college football because because here's the thing with basketball, the difference between first place and 64th place, NFL, the difference between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Carolina Panthers, difference between a Georgia versus, say, I don't know, a Kansas State.
Definitely.
And that's not a knock on Kansas State because they're building a really good program there in Manhattan, but you know what I mean? It's just the top programs in college football are the top programs for a reason.
Yeah, and you're going to see the Tulsas or not Tulsas, the Tulanes, Liberty, Boise State. Yeah, not saying it won't happen because I love upsets. I'd love to see that happen. But you're right. Yeah. Maybe every 3 to 4 years is probably looking like it. And yeah, man, for someone who's new to Big Ten with the Pac-12, unfortunately disintegrating, dissolving, and being nothing except for now 2 teams, Wazoo and Oregon State. It's fascinating to see how this has all shaken up and turned about. And as much as I love it, and I'm all for change, I love it. I'm still very old school though. A bunch of the transfer portal stuff and conference realignment. I mean, college is about tradition, And so when we have guys entering the transfer portal, great example is Jabbar Muhammad, who was on the Huskies last season.
Yes.
Dude transfers to Oregon. Like, to me, as just an old school college football fan, you don't transfer to your rival, bruh. You don't do that. But it's fine. It's the new age of the game. Travel time and flights. And like you said, guys traveling east, guys traveling west versus staying in your region of the United States. Is it going to take a toll on the players? Of course it is, depending on how well conditioning and everything goes and how they're trained. And it's not your grandpa's college football anymore. And part of me digs it. Man, I tell you, dude, I've been watching college football since day one. And maybe because I've just been a part of the Pac-12 and I know how this Pac-12, it's been so crazy. Hashtag Pac-12 after dark. You see upsets happen all the time. And
yeah,
it's just weird. It's weird, but I'm starting to slowly dig it.
So I'm like, that's one thing too with transfer portals. Like I'm fully on board with you where I feel like you don't go to the rival unless you had a really fractured exit from your school. Say if there's like a damaged relationship or something happened behind the scenes. No, don't go to your rival school. But like if, for example, the guys you've seen where it's like what happened with Joe Burrow or Quinn Ewers, where Quinn Ewers, hey, I'm gonna go to Ohio State, I'm gonna be the man. Oh, hey, I'm not the man here. I'm gonna go back to Texas where I should have gone all along. And then with Joe Burrow, it's hey, I'm in a crowded quarterback room. I'm going to go to a school that wants me. Joe Burrow, he screwed around, won a national championship. Took a loss last week, which I'm not mad at. But, he did that. And then Quinn Ewers basically raising his draft stock now to where he's probably going to be a first-round pick. Since this is so close to you, another take I've had with college football, I've shared this on the show, and it's because both schools relate to you, even though now longer the Pac-12's there. But I still firmly believe, and I think this is more coming true now, and it's the fact that the diva everyone thought Caleb Williams was going to be might actually reside in Boulder, Colorado, or Aurora, Boulder. I don't know where it is, but just wish everything we thought about Caleb Williams is coming true with Shedeur Sanders, and just that I understand that you want the spotlight and the limelight, but getting cooked by a Nebraska team who's not exactly all there yet. I think Matt Rule will change that program like he did with Baylor and Temple. But the fact that you basically got embarrassed there, and there's a lot of games besides, I think, all but 3 you're going to be underdogs in. What's that showing? What are you proving? And even too, the whole stuff about like banning reporters from asking questions because you got personal or like the fight song stuff. It just causes a negative thing now to where if Hunter and Sanders leave, that program's going to go down the toilet.
Yeah, I'm someone who, if you can talk the talk, then you got to walk the walk, and they haven't walked the walk.
But they dominated the SWAC.
Oh boy, woohoo! And that's just the thing with all these celebrations with the watches and Hunter and Sanders. Yeah, great players, wonderful players, but as Colin Cowherd said earlier today, I saw him say that they are the new fake ID of college football. We just haven't seen anything from them yet other than talk and talk and talk. And I do want to see Sanders succeed because I think Colorado, that it's wonderful if their football program can get back to, relevancy. And I know that's been ages and ages and ages, but you got to walk the walk first. And yeah, that Nebraska game, I knew that Nebraska was going to win. I did it in my Pick'em league on ESPN. I said, no, this is Nebraska easy. And even in week 0, I believe it was. Well, technically week 1, whatever.
The Thursday night.
Yeah, they barely beat North Dakota State. Now, North Dakota State is probably one of the best teams in FCS. But, they're talking smack on Twitter. It's like, you guys barely beat North Dakota State. Like we're just not seeing a bunch of confidence out of Colorado yet, other than just a bunch of talk and Louis Vuittons and all this jewelry and swag. And start reeling off big wins, and then we'll respect you a little bit more.
That's exactly it. It's like one thing to like do all the flashiness and all the talking off the field, but it's once you get on the field, you got to make your noise. You got to make the things. As you know, I do a lot of things on the fly here, and I'm about to do two. Let's see, Colorado 2024. Even though I'm getting a lot more, I got 2024 polls, and I'm just like, we're not going down that rabbit hole today. Just protect your dogs and cats if you can. So when you look at this, I just pulled up your schedule. Colorado State could be winnable.
Should be.
Baylor should be. UCF probably. But then Kansas State, Arizona, Cincinnati, another should be. Texas Tech, another should be. Who I believe Texas Tech took a really bad loss to Wazoo last weekend.
Yeah.
Utah, I know it's Apple Cup weekend. I know, but it's on there. I was at another wedding last weekend, but I had to stay at my parents' place. And in doing so, I get home, my dad's watching hashtag Pac-12 After Dark with Wazoo and Texas Tech. Utah, Colorado, and Oklahoma State. So it's like when you look at those games, it's like, where do you really give them the chance? Where do you really look at that and say, hey, you're guaranteed to win these games. Besides, maybe if they don't go to a bowl game this year, it's just what did you do? You know, if you finish worse than if you go 6-6, if you go 5-7, if you go which on a side tangent, it's always fascinating to me that with college football, that a 2-loss season is viewed as a failure. You know, that's what I love about it, where it's the true matter of any law, every game counts. You know, there's not one bad game here or there. It's like Notre Dame last week.
This
They,
season, though,
yeah,
with the 12-team playoff, I believe that we will have a 2-loss team. This is a prediction. I
yeah,
think we'll have a 2-loss team make the 12-team playoff. So it has gotten a little bit, maybe a tiny bit more flexible.
yeah.
But you're right, though. A 2-loss season, it's still like, oh crap, I don't know if we're going to be able to make it. But that's my bold pick. I think a 2-loss team will sneak into the college football playoff this season.
So it's
And
kind of like
as
the
for
margin of error is going from like from here to like here. Like, you know,
yeah,
where hey, there's still that like leeway room, but like one loss doesn't absolutely kill you.
yeah. And as for Colorado, they'll beat Colorado State this weekend. But I'm telling you, you reeled off a bunch of those games. I can't sit here and tell you I feel confident in any of those games. And if they go 5-7, 6-6, Dion brought all the talk. And is it hot seat time? I think it's time to maybe light a little bit of a match underneath that seat, man. Because again, transfer portal players don't care. They'll leave. They'll find something else. And it's going to be really fascinating, man. I don't want to say hot seat yet, but things are very impatient nowadays in sports.
I just think he would leave before a hot seat would happen. You know, where it's like, hey, the two guys I brought in here, like Shador, Travis, they're going to the NFL. The talk of him having them control their own destiny, I still laugh at, where it's like, oh, we're going to go where we want, where that doesn't work in this day of NFL. You could pull that off 20 years ago when Eli did. You can pull that off when I think it was John Elway who did that when he was originally supposed to go to the Colts, but he ended up with the Broncos. It's one of those things where you can try to do it, but if you basically say you're not going to draft you, they're just going to say, okay, on to the next one, you know, and this is the other thing too with the NFL draft, with college football. I love how every year we always go into it where it's a bad quarterback year. Sure, 2022 was disgusting, but there's going to be guys who emerge that these guys look at and see, because guess what? A lot of NFL guys, sure, you have scouts on the road every week, but a lot of them don't really pay attention until after the Super Bowl, you know, when it's like, oh, hey, this is what this guy does. This is what this guy has. Meanwhile, all along, and I'll say this too, for everyone saying, oh, it's Shooter this, Shooter that. No, it's until proven wrong, it is Carson Beck who should go number one next year. Whether that's a Carolina or a New York, we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. And I've seen a couple of mock drafts that have Shador going to the Hawks. And I don't know how I feel about that, but would it be cool? Of course it'd be cool. Now, mind you, guys like Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy, yes, of course, the Niners are just stacked, but it just goes to show you, man, there's a lot of pressure on these kids that are the first, second, pick, all these, whether it be a Heisman winner or just this talented quarterback. Pressure's there. You're already going to a really bad team as it is. So, but look at guys like Brock Purdy, too. You put the right pieces around him, you can build success there. Just got to be patient.
That's exactly it. Because but in this day in the NFL, though, no one's patient. College football, you have that leeway to be patient. You know, where when Harbaugh got to Michigan, Matt Rule getting to Nebraska, Deion's a little different because he basically came out. And another example too, when DeBoer was in Washington, you basically showed me that there was patience and leeway room for you to do this. The only times I haven't seen, and even too, Kirby Smart with Georgia, Dabo in Clemson, even though now Clemson's in the toilet. Not in the toilet, but it's just the fact that you're living in the past to where what worked 5 years ago doesn't work now in college football, and it's really showing its hindrance. NFL, there's no room to be patient because these owners want to win and win now. We've seen what happens when ownership gets in the way. We've seen what happens when, David Tepper puts his hands in the pot. It's basically the whole too many cooks in the kitchen metaphor. It's when the owner gets involved. David Tepper doing it, John Mara doing it, Jerry Jones is the best example of doing it, to where you're so much wanting to win that at the end of the day, you're doing more damage to your program than you're doing good. Meanwhile, you have these ADs in college football where they're saying, hey, we're paying you all this money, and in worst case scenario, it doesn't work. We're going to do to you what Jimbo Fisher did, what Ed Ogeron did, where it's just, hey, we're going to buy you out, and that's it, which it's so fascinating to me that, hey, here's $70 million not to work anymore. It must be nice.
Yes. Yeah. Sign me up for that, huh? God. And yeah, and final point though, with Clemson. Yeah, I think it's just like the measuring stick of where we're at. The season's still
Yeah,
young. Again, I still fully believe a two-loss team will make the college football playoff this year, but the measuring stick, they're not where Georgia is, not even close.
a group of
Not
5 will also make it. That's my hot take.
Oh, totally.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I believe it.
a group of 5 will make it, and with the upsets, though, I can still I don't see a 5 beating a 12, but it'll be like, like a 7 beating a 10 or an 8 beating a 9, but then
Yeah.
it's once you get to, like, that 7 team playing that one team, you're gonna quickly see, "Oh, hey, that's why that team is as good as they are, and that's why this team was in there." The other fun aspect, too, is the fact that the first round is being played at schools. I think that just adds that extra, like, college element to it. It's not like,
Love it.
you're putting it in a random bowl game. You're not putting it in the Boca Raton Bowl. Here's the first round of the college football playoff. No, hey, excuse me. Here's this being played at Penn State at Penn State at Beaver Stadium. Here's this being played at the boat gating in Washington. Here's this being played at. You're gonna hate me for this, but playing at Autzen, at all these other stadiums, at Bryant Denny. It's just gonna make it not much more fun. The other thing with the ACC too is I still do think, shout out Big Rat, I think his U is going to take the ACC this year unless other things happen. But it's going to be a really fun season. And once we get to November, it's going to be even more fun because there's going to be games that are truly elimination games. It's no longer, hey, you have to win your championship game. Winning your championship game is just the icing on the cake. But it's those games that, like, right before Thanksgiving, that if you lose that game, there's a chance you're not playing in the playoff.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. No, this is where things can get very interesting. Those mid to late November games where pressure's on you, and we saw it with my Huskies, whether it be that Apple Cup last season. There were so many close games where the pressure was on, but it's how ready are you? How bad do you want it? I know it sounds cliche. I know it sounds just rinse and repeat, but that's where it comes down to. Those games, you got to watch out. Watch out because they're trying to knock you out. Upsets happen all the time. These teams, we're not going anywhere, so let's ruin your fun. How bad do you want it? That's when it comes down to crunch time. And that's why college is just, love the NFL, man, but God, college is just so stinking fun. And it's young kids. It's
Yeah.
the young kids that just, how bad they want this. You know it.
It's also, this might be the highest stage of football they ever play in their career. That's the thing.
Exactly. Oh, God, bring it on, man. Get me fired up over here.
Well, we could transfer that fired up energy now as we transfer we're entering our own transfer portal from CFB to the NFL. Tomorrow night is the first legit Thursday night football game. And I know we played last Thursday, but look, this is the first short week Thursday, first prime Thursday of the year. You have the Miami Dolphins taking on the Buffalo Bills. And I'm just going to open up by saying this. I don't understand why Miami's the favorite in this game. I feel like, and this is coming from a Pats fan too, so this is a lot of stuff. I just feel like Buffalo's been very disrespected all offseason. And then you also have Josh Allen, where he showed last week that, hey, you take away my best weapon. They're in a bit of a retool because of cap situations. I'm still going to be who you all know me to be.
This is going to be a really fun Thursday night game, and as someone who has Josh Allen in their fantasy football team, I was very, very happy with what that man can do with his legs and with his arms still. Even with losing Stephon Diggs, I still think they're dangerous. Don't want to mess around with them. But Tua and Tyreek and Waddle and just that whole group of Dolphins, man, this might be a game where, we may not see a whole bunch of defense. I'm not saying it's going to be like a college shootout kind of game, but if anyone's placing some sports bets out there, this might be one of those where bet the overs. Anybody starting in fantasy football, Tyreek Hill, Josh Allen, all these guys. This one's going to be pretty interesting. Teams are still trying to figure each other out, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So whether it be Allen's legs, Tua's arms, Tyreek's speed, we got a really good one tomorrow. And yeah, I have Miami winning, but close. I think the line is just about right.
So I have Buffalo winning just because, and I also I placed a bet with this because I know obviously in Washington the rules are a little kooky, like you have to go to the casino to play your bets.
Yeah, it's annoying.
We have, which it's in Canada, it's interesting. So as you know, 52 states, but in Canada it's 10 provinces, 3 territories. Ontario's the only one where they've allowed all the sports books to come up here. Every other state, it's run through the like the lottery, like I don't know what it's called in Washington, like it's the Michigan lottery, the New York
Yeah,
State lottery, the Washington
same thing.
lottery.
Yep.
Up here, every other place, it's ran through that. Like I can still bet through the Ontario, like it's called OLG up here, Ontario Lottery and Gaming. They basically own most of the casinos, all that stuff. But we have the apps here, and BetMGM basically said, "Hey, we're going to give you a bonus bet of $5." So what I do, I place that $5 at plus 120 on the Buffalo Bills to win. I really like the over for this game as well, just because, look, I know Buffalo scored 34 last week. Miami only scored 20. That's the thing against the Jacksonville team where, look, they didn't look their best. So I think this is a real chance for Miami to, go out there and just show out and show up. But at the end of the day, too, I think the one loss that's going to hinder them is Raheem Morris. Not Raheem Morris. That's the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Raheem Mostert. That's the $1 million loss right there. Which, if you're fantasy, Jeff Wilson Jr., I know everyone's going to lean on, Devon A-Chain. No, this is the kind of game where you're going to get the people with A-Chain are going to be like, I'm in for a good one. I'm in for this. And then Jeff Wilson Jr. is the guy that steals the show for them. But ultimately, though, I'm sticking to my guns here. And I also saw a fun fact about this game that according to, it was either Vivid Seats or TickPick, that 44% of the tickets sold for this game have been sold to people in Western New York or in the state of New York. So there's a
Wow.
lot of them that, hey, you know what? Have a little weekend down in South Beach. So why not?
Why not as well? That's weird. Okay, I guess that works. Now I'm playing against someone in fantasy who has HN, and they have him as questionable. So keep Wilson, yeah, keep him in the back pocket unless something changed.
Yeah.
But
Do you know the movie? I don't know the movie, but I know the meme where it's like a person sitting in a church with like one's got a gun to their head, the other person's got a gun to their head, and then there's a sniper up on the second floor. It's basically like Raheem Mostert, Devon A-Chain, and then and then the sniper is Jeff Wilson Jr. So that's where I'm saying that like levels of leeway kind of
yeah,
go with it all. And but honestly though, I think that I like the fact that Amazon's opening with a game like this. And it's not just, hey, we're just throwing some random game out there. We're giving you a game last year that had a lot of consequences with it. We're giving you a game that has a lot of just other stuff with it, to where this is a true playoff implication game. It's a game where you got a lot on the line and you've got a lot of other stuff going on. But you know what? He's Miami, I'm Buffalo, and now we leap to Sunday, where Sunday we kick off with the Dallas Cowboys and the New Orleans Saints. Both teams coming off huge victories last week. But I look at the betting number for this game, and I look at Dallas as -6.5. And for as much as New Orleans can't play Carolina every week, I just think that, like, here's how I'm going to go with this game. Dallas wins, but I take the points on the Saints.
and this one's in Dallas.
It's in Dallas, but my logic for taking the points is because, Dallas last week, oh, great, they did this. And then the next week, they just lay an egg.
Right.
It's what we call typical Dallas.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I think for this one, I'm kind of a money line kind of guy with games like these. I'd probably take Dallas money line. I just, everyone's kind of writing Dallas off this year, and as much as I would love to see some of these Cowboys teams fall on their butts,
We gotta wait till January.
Yeah, well, exactly right. We're still a little too early. Saints looked very good. Let's also not forget though, from Carolina, so I would take Dallas money. I feel pretty confident with Dallas winning, but you're right. Could definitely keep it close, but I think Dallas will pull it out.
So yeah, I'm the same way. I think Dallas pulls out the game. I just think that the number's closer. I think it's within a touchdown game. Like this screams to me, because both defenses are still kind of up in the air. This screams to me like, I don't know, like a 24-20 kind of football game, like, something crazy like that, or even a 24, like a 24-19, where I look at that. Also, I love the Gami, but with a game like this, I look at it where you have just opportunity after opportunity. But I can see a world where the Saints just can't convert. They have to settle for field goals. Meanwhile, Dallas is able to get into the end zone just time and time again. So I think we both have Dallas to win. I just have the Saints to cover. And I have a similar result in this next game, which is Detroit versus Tampa Bay. And I know a lot of people have been writing them off, but for what you were saying the Dallas Cowboys are, the Buccaneers are for me. And I don't get why, after last week, they looked fantastic. I know Washington's defense is mid and old, featuring your former Seahawk, Bobby Wagner. But 7.5 point favorites against a Detroit team who barely squeaked off a win against the Rams, an injured Rams, might I add you. Just it's the same thing too, where I'm like, I can see Detroit winning the game, but I think that Tampa keeps this game within a touchdown. I think 7.5 is just way too much.
7.5 is way too much. I do have Detroit for sure. Big Amon-Ra St. Brown fan over here. I think Jared Goff is. I'm proud of the kid, man. From being a Ram and not really quite knowing where he is he going to be good, is he going to be in? Well, goes to Super Bowl, and I'm proud of him. So I got Lions, but close, very close.
I also have a hot take on this game. Over under 51.5. I have a golden rule with betting. If the total, this is only NFL, college is off, college and CFL are off the table for this. But if it's over 50.5, if it's over 50, I take the under, because at that point they're just trying to bait you into thinking it's going to be a close game. But I could easily see this being, 27-24, where 51 points. Because I've had this happen to me before. I had this happen to me where I had 52.5 in a Detroit-Chicago game, and it was 41-10.
See, Vegas.
Do the math. Vegas wins every time, and it's just us trying to beat the sports book. So when I think of that, if I had a choice for this game, I'd lean under. And also, I know I said last week on this podcast, I was giving out my picks for my videos. I'm still cooking in the lab, but don't be surprised if I put Tampa Bay in there at the plus 7.5. Same thing with this game too. Jacksonville versus Cleveland. You have two teams, one who looked god awful last week, and you have another one who, look, they peed down their leg and lost. This is going to sound crazy, but I think this is a bounce back for Cleveland. I know it's a crazy thing to think, but for how bad they looked last week, I think they rebound and find a way to win, especially too considering they're playing a Jacksonville team that, like I said, has its flaws and has its merits to it.
Yeah, I like where your head's at. I like the logic. I'm still going to rock with Trevor Lawrence. I'm going to rock with him, and I'm hoping for a nice bounce back game featuring a Christian Kirk as well. Notice there's some fantasy implications.
Yeah. Oh, I got you. Brian Thomas Jr. over here.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about my teams this year. But I'll go with the Jags. Cleveland's just kind of one of those teams. I know they've always kind of been a perennial laughing stock. They're one of those teams, like, to me, you got to prove to me that you can do this consistently. Now, Jags got close. Yeah, exactly. Just show me a little something other than what I saw last week. This one for me would be probably a Jacksonville money line. Again, maybe you can help me out like off camera here, but like the -3 to me, I just it's hard for me to take those risks. I would probably do money line on this one. If I really were to feel risky, I probably would do -3, like a 24-20 Jacksonville win, but that's where I'm at.
So I'll gladly explain it to you on camera. It's fine. Basically, the way I look at spreads is if I think, because spreads for football are kind of the easier ones to read, where you kind of get a sense or a tell, where it's like, basically it's more or less than anything where you're like, when you look at something, you're like, something doesn't seem right. Where you're like when you look at something, you're like, why are you the way that you are? When it's like a fun one for you, like, why does Oregon have so many jersey combinations yet 0 national championships? When you look at them, when they always release one, you're like, okay, we'll continue to make fun of you for that. The way I look at sports gambling for that is like how, for example, I see Detroit versus Tampa at -7.5, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. That's just too many points. For all we know, Detroit goes out there and blows them out. But like I said, the way that Tampa looked last week, even against let's call them a mid Washington Commanders team, I still have faith that they'll keep it close, because last year in the playoffs too, it was -6.5, I think, and they won by 8. So they only covered by 1.5. So a point less is kind of one of those things where you kind of look at it the wrong way. And as the ticker went by, this next game has a bet that I think I'm going to include in my video. Excuse me. Minnesota is playing San Francisco, and the over-under is only at 45.5. You're telling me that a Minnesota team that with Justin Jefferson is playing a San Francisco juggernaut, and you're only thinking they're going to score under 45.5 points? See, that's the same thing with the over-unders too, where I'm like, that's too many points. Oh, that's too little points. My over-under last week was Buffalo and Arizona at 47.5, and my logic for that was, hey, each team has to get 3 touchdowns and a field goal. That's not exactly hard to do. Meanwhile, for this game, 45.5, that's what, 6 touchdowns in a game? especially too with teams like this who like to have the air raid attack and who like to, hopefully, because I'll be honest with you, I have one league that I lost in. Actually, I lost my wife in this league. She's upstairs. She'll be proud to say that. But I had Jordan Mason drafted, and he was on my bench because it was too little too late. But I have him starting this week, so I feel better. I feel better. But when I look at this week too, because here's the other thing. 32 was scored by San Francisco last week. 28 was scored by a Vikings team against a god-awful Giants team. That's where I think 45.5 is an easy number to cover, especially for an over.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. It does.
San Francisco wins the game, though, in my opinion.
San Francisco wins the game. Yeah. Danny, if you're watching this, your Jets really let me down. I was really hoping you guys would pull it out, and you guys are not there yet. I believe you guys will get better, but I was really rooting for those Jets last week. Yeah, Niners will win. But, as a Seahawk fan, it's always nice to see them lose. But, yeah, Niners should take care of business in this one. I would bet Justin Jefferson. God, I screw it. I'm going to say, because I might put it on a ticket this weekend. I'd say Justin Jefferson anytime touchdown.
It's like one of those bets you just roll with it and you hope for the best.
Yeah.
The god-awful Carolina Panthers playing the LA Chargers, and I don't think I'm in a survival pool where I got a strike last week because which I will say this, I was very gloating because 22 people got strikes and like 18 of them got strikes because of the Bengals against the Patriots. I took the Colts in a high-risk, high-reward one, got a strike there, but this is my lock of the week. I am not betting this, but the LA Chargers are going to beat the Carolina Panthers. I think with the LA Chargers, look, I know the head coach and the defensive coordinator beat you guys in the national championship. I know Michigan beat Washington, but Jim Harbaugh just brings something there that's bringing out the best in Justin Herbert. And you're telling me that team's not going to take what they did last week to a division rival in Vegas and apply it to a team who let Derek Carr, for lack of a better word, drag his nutsack all over them for 4 quarters. So, and that's not a knock on him either. I'm just saying, like, 5.5 points in this where I'm just like, and also 38.5 too. I'm like, whew, this is a game where I'm like, if this, I feel like one of two things is going to happen in this game though. Either LA just gets out early and you just don't look back and it's just hell for 60 minutes, or it's one of those games that it's like, okay, that was a bit of a sweat when it shouldn't have been, and then like the Chargers pull out like, I don't know, like a 20 to like what Miami did last week. I can see going that, but for when it comes to survival, I think I got to go with the Chargers this week. I got to stick it out easy because I have one other pick for survival, but I'll explain to that in a minute.
That's a definite lock. That's an easy one. I think Chargers all the way. Same thing. Again, I'm one of those you got to kind of show me guys. Carolina, oh my gosh, they just got mollywopped. I mean, in the NFL, I mean, how many points did the Saints score last week? Was it 47?
47 points.
In the NFL, man, I'm sorry. That's hard to do. If you're laying almost 50 burgers in the NFL, that's really
bad.
That's really bad. So that's an easy lock of the week there. Carolina, until you can show me otherwise, yeah, you are smart to have the Chargers as your lock.
The other one would have been this game coming up, which is the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. Also, the one other thing I'll say too is, and we'll get into this in our game as well, but teams traveling from west to east usually scare me. But it's also the fact too that it's Carolina. That's where I'm just like, it's the Panthers. Like I'm gonna look it up on BetStamp right now, which is basically a tool for all of you out there to go and place your bets. Also, fun fact. So I'm looking up right now, by the way. But for Tampa Bay, Detroit, only 25% of the money is coming in on the Buccaneers. But for this game, though, 70% of the money is on the Chargers and 30% is on the Panthers. But you know what? That's where I got to go. Meanwhile, this game right here, it's basically simple and said. I don't buy into the Raiders this year at all. This is a perfect bounce back. This is a perfect get right spot for the Baltimore Raiders. Baltimore Raiders for the Baltimore Ravens. It's been a long day, and I'm almost ready for bed.
Yeah, you're right.
Even though I missed my alarm this morning.
Ravens for sure in this one. I'm in a little bit of a conundrum here. Brock Bowers or Isaiah Likely? I'm going back and forth.
I want to go Bowers just because I feel like everyone and their mother. I saw on Twitter today there was a dude in a league who he put $72 of his FAAB in on Isaiah Likely, which is almost blowing your load, which this happens all the time with fantasy football where someone balls week 1 and then week 2 they lay an egg. Meanwhile, Brock Bowers last week, for as bad as the Raiders are, he showed that, look, he's going to be a great tight end. And also the fact, too, that him and I have the similar hairlines, even though he's 21. It's just showing once he goes bald, he's going to be a force in this league.
Yeah, oh my god, no. I was a little skeptical of like, well, I had to draft a tight end, so I just got him, and then I in my league, no one picked up Likely, and I thought, well, let's see what we can do. Likely was on my bench last week because I thought Mark Andrews would have picked up where he originally left off, but yeah. So long story short, Ravens in this one, and is it safe to say maybe just bet the over on Lamar rushing yards every game this season? Like,
Yes and no, just because the way he plays last week, where he goes shoulder first on a lot of his tackles, kind of scares me to where
yeah,
he could endanger himself. But for a game like this, I'd go yes. Why not? I'd also go Derrick Henry. I'd go Derrick Henry first touchdown, never mind any time touchdown, just because they start with the ball, they're just going to ram it down their throats and run because the defense. Look, Max Crosby got cooked last week. That's the other thing too.
oh yeah. Oof.
But here's the other thing though. Roger Ramstein, your former guard, he's getting fed his lunch a little bit last week against Kansas City. So we'll see how Max Crosby rebounds as well.
Yeah, they're dogs. They'll be just fine. Give them time. Give them time.
I'm doing the same thing too with number 1, Jalen Polk, because folks, it's come that time. We've waited 37 minutes. We've got the New England Patriots taking on the Seattle Seahawks last week, where New England got the upset win. You had me on here. I thought the Bengals were going to win, but New England covered, and I said New England was going to cover. You have a Seattle team who, look, they were in a bit of a dogfight against the Denver Broncos. This is a true game, which I don't know. I don't know about where I want to lean it for winning, but this is a game where if you're a fan of offensive football, look away because the defense for New England's good. Mike McDonald is a guy who he's already kind of implemented his system, and Seattle showed last week if your quarterback's going to do stupid plays, you're going to win. Basically, one of my favorite metaphors, that's the appropriate one to say instead of FAFO, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Bo Nix is going to throw it away into double coverage. Julian Love, thank you very much. Leonard Williams, hey, I'm going to feast on some guys. Sure, he's going to do that. And then you had the same thing too last week with Keon White getting 2.5 sacks against the Cincinnati Bengals. Ramondre Stevenson running it up the gut. But the one thing that kind of surprised me today was Kenneth Walker showing up on the injury report. So this is a great game to see where both teams truly are going into week 3.
Oh, I got to tell you, it was so refreshing last week to see actual tackling and guys not being 10 yards away when a receiver would catch a ball. We were right there ready for him. I love you, Pete Carroll, and I will forever thank Pete for what he did. But oh boy, did his schemes and coaches get stale. That was so refreshing to see. What wasn't refreshing to see was that offensive line basically give up 4 points, 2 safeties. Whoever bet 2 safeties in that game last week, if there was a human being sane enough to do that, I'd like
degenerate.
Yeah, I'd like to borrow $50,000 of your however much that was. That was just such a refreshing game to see defensively. Now, Bo Nix, rookie quarterback. I know everyone's probably like, yeah, no duh, the Seahawks defense was good. It was Bo Nix. But I'm sorry for watching the Hawks as long as I have been, especially these last few years. You guys, we tackled. We actually tackled well. We tackled well. There were guys right next to the receivers, ready to bring them down. I loved what I saw, albeit a rookie quarterback. I'm excited to see how this one turns out. Yeah, I wasn't too pleased with seeing Kenneth Walker on the injury report. I really like Zach Charbonnet, second-year running back out of UCLA. McIntosh as well. Kenny McIntosh coming from Georgia.
Yep.
He didn't play last year. He was injured all last year. Oh my God, he looked good in preseason, but again, albeit preseason. I think running back, we're going to be fine. If the offensive line can just play just a little bit better than what they showed last week, it's going to be a more better, sexier product for us. But this is going to be one of those games like in the trenches. Like this is going to be one in the trenches, old school dogfight, maybe some field goals, not too touchdown heavy.
No. This is definitely going to be an under football game. But my hot take for this game is I think it's a team who wins a turnover battle is going to win. I think it's because you have 2 quarterbacks. You have Jacoby Brissett, who's obviously a placeholder for Drake May. And look, we'll say this time and time again. I'm in the mindset, you wait till the kid's ready. Don't rush him. Don't do any of that. But then you guys are an interesting. You're in a peculiar spot because they're saying with Shador Sanders for Seattle potentially, where this year with Geno, you can effectively just tell them at the end of the year if you guys go 9-8 or 8-9 and miss the playoffs. Hey, thank you for your service, but deuces. Because I know there's an out in his contract this year. I believe it's like that's the beautiful thing about NFL contracts is where hey, all the stuff's here, but you can get out of it and not have to worry about it. And I know the Seahawks basically Geno Smith, they go year to year with his contracts. They have since he got there. The biggest thing for me in this game is like I'll go back to it. It's the turnover battle because like I said, Geno Smith last week, I think he had one or two wonky interceptions. I think it was one.
He had one because our offensive line was doing horrible offensive line stuff, and Geno should have never thrown that ball, but it was not pretty.
That's why I'm so confident in the defenses winning this game for these teams. This game screams 17-14 for me. And with that being said, like I don't know who's going to win. I want to say New England, but I think for everything that happened last week, and everyone thinking, oh, line's a little bit lower. I can see a world where Seattle wins by a field goal, but the Patriots kind of show that, like, do you remember the last time our two teams played?
I think so.
It was Sunday Night Football, and Jamal Adams stopped Cam Newton on the goal line from
winning. Yeah, I was in Disney World when that happened. I stayed up until, oh my God, I don't know how you people on the East Coast watch sports. Oh my gosh.
We're sick.
Yeah, you are. Oh, West Coast, best coast for times. 10 o'clock on the couch watching Red Zone. Day is over. Yes, I do remember that game, and that's what it came down to. I didn't think that we were going to pull
it off. I got my hopes up about winning, but with a game like this, it's just because now everyone's kind of seeing New England where it's like, hey, what can you do? In a year with New England, honestly, where I don't want to, because I say this with New England, I would love to see them win every game. I'm going to root for wins, but I'm going to accept losses. And I'm not going to worry about where they're drafting until that time comes, until that there's an official number next to their name.
I was shocked. I mean, really, I was shocked you guys pulled it off last week. I got Joe Burrow on another one of my fantasy teams, and I'm a little worried now because I was proud of you guys.
Well, thank you for that one. I'm not worried about the Bengals just because, and with I also because I said New England, I always was feeling on New England for a few reasons. One was because the fact I know Cincinnati's slow starting. Two is the fact that, T. Higgins didn't play, but Jamar Chase has been gone all year, and Christian Gonzalez is going to be a premier cornerback in this league. I know he's a Duck, but he's going to be a premier corner. The other one, too, is just they start slow, and Joe Burrow is coming off a wrist injury, so it's not like it's, oh, hey, he's not that good. It's just for what he had to deal with, that's a serious injury for a quarterback. And also, too, it's the fact that everyone was writing off New England and just assuming they're going to get dog walked in every single game.
Right.
That's what I think New England's going to do. I think it's kind of the Pittsburgh method where it's Pittsburgh's going to win when they're under. They're going to win the games they shouldn't, and they're going to lose the games that they should win. With New England, I can see a world where they beat teams where they have no business winning, kind of like what they did with Buffalo last year, but then they lose to teams that, hey, it should be a closer game or we're giving you a chance to win. So I do think Seattle wins, and New England kind of not goes back to reality, but kind of gets that whole, hey, it's not like what happened last week was fun, but we got to move on. But I will say this, though. The more and more with NFL coaching, and we're realizing this as we're going from the old curmudgeon era of coaches, Carroll and Belichick both gone, to now Mike McDonald and Gerard Mayo. I don't know what the culture's like in Seattle right now, but with New England, they're playing for Mayo. And for Seattle, even last week, the little Marshawn Lynch shoulder rub with Mike McDonald, where he's just kind of enjoying it, kind of shows me that he's like a laid back coach, but at the same time too, he's going to implement some defensive schemes. He's going to throw stuff out there. He's going to think he's going to try to confuse you to where I'm going to send 4. No, I'm going to have 4 go back, and I'm going to send the linebacker. Also, I'll say this too. Byron Murphy, I really like a defensive tackle for you guys.
Oh yeah. He definitely had a first game experience. He was
welcome to the NFL.
Yeah, definitely a welcome to the NFL moment. Culture in Seattle. I mean, we love Pete for what he did, but we turned the page and we're
ready it was time.
To move on. It was definitely time. Oh, again, can I talk about that defense and how just after week 1, how we can tackle? Oh my gosh, it was just awesome. Well, thank you for that nice prediction. As much as I'd like to return the favor, I'm going to let my bias show. Truth be told, I think this is going to be probably one of those 20 to 17, 17-14 games. There's going to be probably times where I'm yelling at our offensive line and maybe once or twice yelling at Gino. I think having Walker definitely out. Well, he's not 100% out, but it's not looking good. He didn't practice today. Charbonnet is a fine backup, but that's exactly what he is for a second-year guy, is truly backup. And, this is going to tell a lot even in week 2. It's a West Coast team going east, 10 o'clock kick. Pete really got our guys to love and embrace those 10 a.m. kicks. I don't know how young Mike McDonald is going to do it, but there's going to be a lot said in this game of how we come out of the 10 a.m. kick. And, whether you guys are supposed to win 2 games, 3 games, 4 games this year, 5 games, whatever it is. I know the Vegas line didn't have you guys winning many games, but this is going to be 4. There you go. This is going to be a real test for us. I really do. It's not going to be pretty. If it's pretty, color me shocked, because I can't see it. And truth be told, I want to win this game against y'all. I don't feel confident against Miami, even in Seattle next week. And that's even with the defensive coach. So I'd really like to get going on that. My expectations for my Hawks, though: floor 7 wins, ceiling 10, maybe get into the playoffs as a 6 or 7 win team. Here's the funny thing. It's basically the same roster, just minus some coaching changes. Like everyone's all like, oh, Seattle's going to be so bad. We're not going to be so bad. It's the same team, give or take.
Yeah. People are quick to judge. Like with New England, my expectations going into last week was, hey, the floor was like 3 wins and the ceiling's like 6 or 7. Now I think that's gone up just because they got a win in September. They got a win before. It was last year. Their first win came week 3. They were 0-2 going into MetLife and they beat the Jets. So with New England now, I still think I think worst case scenario is 4 wins. Best case scenario is, you know what? Hey, they're 7-10. You know what? And I know people are going to say, oh, that's crazy. They could go out there and get a few fluky wins. They have a really tough schedule. I don't know what's going to happen. But with a game like this, I would love for this to happen because I've already saw some betting lines for next week. We lose to you guys. We go into the Jets as a huge underdog, and they get the upset. I'm also saying that, too, because I know what's going to get under someone who's been avoiding me in DMs since Monday night's skin. Yep, shout out to you, Danny. And then Green Bay versus Indy. I'm going to say this right now because of what happened at the end of the game last week. I know Indy broke my heart last week with their little shenanigans against Houston, but I can't bet actual money I make on Malik Willis. I'm not going to bet anything on this game, but look, I'm just going to keep it simple. I think the Colts win this one.
I think if Jordan Love plays this game, I think Packers would probably eke it out.
Same.
But I got Colts winning this game, and so much as because I have I've got a bad. I have the Chiefs defense in my fantasy, and I'm taking a risk. And I actually got the Colts defense off waivers specifically for this one game. After that, we're not using them, but I think Indy wins it because Love is not playing.
That's my exact logic too. And then Tennessee versus New York. I know we were talking about the Jets earlier, and I know I made my little shot at Danny, but I'll say this with the Jets. What happened Monday night? Look, you got bullied around by one of the best teams in the league. If you let a team their schedule coming up, they have Tennessee, New England, Denver, and Minnesota. You let one of those 4 teams do that, that's where concern kicks in. That's where we truly start to see, hey, okay, what's going on? Why are you doing this? You shouldn't be doing this. Like, oh, honey, what is you doing? This is a perfect bounce back spot for them because, look, you were up 17-3 against a Bears team that everyone all off season, oh, this team could go to the Super Bowl. Oh, this team could do this. Will Levis made simple mistakes, and Robert Saleh is going to have his team ready to prey on stuff like that. Robert Saleh is going to have them ready to go. I'm not worried about the Jets at all. I'm worried about them against the big teams. Yeah. I'm not worried about them against the mid-level to mediocre to bad teams.
I think the New York Ayahuascas definitely win. I think they win. But gosh, it's sure fun to see or read Danny's tweets where he's a little bit upset. So it'd be funny if the Titans pulled it off, but don't worry, Jets will win this one.
Yeah, that'd be the thing too. Like, it wouldn't shock me if this is one of those games that it's close going into midway through the third quarter, and then all of a sudden Aaron Rodgers is just like, oh, hey, I know how to play football again. One of those fun little adventures there. And then we go to a not so fun adventure where the Commanders are playing the Giants. And for as much that, yeah, this is I actually I have a name for this game. I want you to think of this name. The game Red Zone Forgot, because this game's not making Red Zone at all. I'm going Commanders simply because Daniel Jones cannot be trusted, and Jaden Daniels, for as bad as he looked last week against the Bucks, he showed flashes where it's like, hey, give him some time. He can get there and look good.
No, definitely. I'm excited to see him play. I'm excited to see as the season goes on. And shout out to B-Wags, Bobby Wagner, for holding it down there with the Commanders. So hopefully they can pull off the win. And when I say hopefully, they should. Giants are another example. Until you can just show me that Danny Dimes is either the answer or the team can. Oh God, they're so frustrating. The Giants are so frustrating. They paid that boy way too much money. Commanders are going to win this game, and Giants fans are going to be ready for the season to end, I think, pretty soon, man. Oh, so bad.
And then this is the one thing, too, that I would change in the world. We have 3 games in the 4 o'clock window. I'm sorry. I feel like there should be a minimum of 4. There should be at least 4 games at 4 o'clock.
I know. I'm not even going to be watching Red Zone this week because I'm going to be watching the Hawks, and I'll turn on Red Zone, and the 3 games are like,
There's one. So here's how the games go at 3. You have a game which is 2 mid teams. You have a game which is division rivals, which I feel like you'll be paying closer attention to.
That's the one. Yeah.
And then you have the Tony Romo Glaze Fest. I think you can kind of label all 3. But we'll start with the division rivals with Arizona playing LA, which the Arizona Cardinals are a favorite in this game. And that's with, man, if there is a player this year that is the Bijan Robinson of fantasy football, it's going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. Jesus Christ, 1 catch for 4 yards. And also, there's the thing is too, when Kyler Murray does stuff that does the amount of midget videos that get spammed on the timeline, it's unhinged and insane. But also Arizona, and I know you're gonna hate me for saying this, but Arizona is always one of my fun teams to watch for because I think that they have that similar buy-in from Jonathan Gannon. Where I know there was a video last year where it's like, do you have that? Remember, it was like, did you take the bus here? Do you have that fire in your gut? Which is real. It's a really corny video, but
yeah.
Ugh. I think he's gotten his guys to buy in. I honestly think that they've bought into whatever he's selling. And this is a team last week, because here's the thing. They beat Buffalo last week. That game comes across the ticker. Everyone's going to go, holy crap, they beat the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
But I think this is a game where, look, the Lions defense is good. The Cardinals defense is bad. It's just they've got pieces there, but it's still a work in progress. 49.5, I'm uncertain of, just with all the injuries there. And I don't want to say I told you so, but I was a really big proponent of don't draft Puka Nacua, draft Cooper Kupp. And I know Puka's hurt, but it wasn't for that. It was just because I feel like everyone was forgetting Cooper Kupp and overvaluing Puka from last year, because what he did last year was historic and it wasn't going to repeat. History doesn't repeat itself. But with this game, for as much as I want to go Arizona, I think it's just one of those games when you doubt LA is when they win. It's one of those things where, and also Sean McVay has pretty much bullied every team in the NFC West. Sorry, but the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh no! Oh, he has. He knew how to outcoach Pete, and hopefully Mike McDonald can fix that. I was very shocked. This Cardinals are favored, and this game's in LA, right?
No, it's in the desert. It's in the
valley. Oh, it is in the desert. Okay.
Yes,
well,
sir.
that still doesn't change anything. I think the Rams are going to win this one. I think the Cardinals are much better than they were last year, but I think Rams pull this one off.
You know what the Cardinals are?
Who's that?
They're a restaurant you like to go to that you should not be eating at all the time, but God damn it, you can't turn away but enjoy it. They're kind of like, it's kind of like Taco Bell in a way,
Oh, yeah.
It's not good for you. It's not good for you, but God damn it, when you eat it, it's delicious.
Yeah. So that's a good analogy. Yeah. Well, we ain't going to Taco Bell this weekend. We're going to In-N-Out down in LA. So that's where we're eating. Yep.
Yes. Wait, are you in LA right now or are you in Washington?
Oh, Washington. I just mean in terms of the metaphor, we're staying in LA.
Yes. Okay.
We're eating it In-N-Out. We're not eating at Taco Bell. Rams will pull it off.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. We are eating In-N-Out this week. And now time for the Glaze Fest game with Kansas City versus Cincinnati, which I'm sorry. I really like watching Patrick Mahomes play football. I just don't like it when guys like Chris Collinsworth and Tony Romo go on the air and he can do the simplest of things and they just make it seem like this huge, big deal.
Here's a guy.
Yeah, here's a guy. I saw so actually I'm gonna say a story. I'm gonna wait till tell you this off air because I don't want to get in trouble. But I saw the Walmart commercial with Chris Collinsworth, and it was like the cringiest thing ever where he just basically goes around the room saying, here's the guy, now here's the guy. He's like, I can't stop saying it. I'm like, they basically have taken things like his chair slide and now here's a guy and just basically morphed it into this like unstoppable force of thing. Which, fun fact for next week, you get to see Chris Collinsworth call Patrick Mahomes again as the Chiefs are playing on Sunday Night Football. This game right here, though, look, for everything that happened last week, I'm going Kansas City. I just think that, look, the same thing with other teams too, like what you said about the Giants and the Panthers, Bengals, until you show me something, you let a Patriots team that, look, is supposed to be bad, and this is coming from a diehard Patriots fan. You scored 1 touchdown against them. You're basically, and here's the thing with Jamar Chase too. Jamar Chase is going from Christian Gonzalez to Trent McDuffie, who was an all-pro corner. Your offensive line, which got abused by a team with a pretty good defense, you got George Karlaftis, Leo Chanel, Nick Bolton, Chris Jones waiting for you on that other side. This is a game where I think, call me crazy on this game, if the Bengals play the way they did last week, this game could get ugly and ugly quick. I'm just going to say this right here, though. I think Kansas City takes this. I don't know by how much. I think this is the game where the Chiefs kind of, that game now where everyone's saying, the three-peat talk just starts heating up. I think this is the kind of game that ignites that engine.
I agree.
Or ignites the flame.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Mr. Moneyline over here, I would probably take Kansas City Moneyline on this one. Yeah, there'll be a little bit of panic down there in Cincinnati. I know they will, even if Chase and Higgins are 100%. Kansas City, those Swifts, man, they are just too dang good. They are just too dang good.
I'm just looking right now for Cincinnati too, but they play the Commanders week 3 Monday Night Football, so it's kind of a good get right spot.
And that'll be their first win. Yeah, that should be their first win.
And then I look at next week too. There's 5 games in the 4:00 window. NFL, like, what are you doing?
Oh, okay.
And then 4 the next week, and then the week after, there's 4 with a 9:30 kick, which features Giants Seahawks. I think if I'm still in survival, I know when I'm taking the Seahawks. But but yeah, that's just my thing here. I think you take Kansas City on the money line. It's an easy bet, and you roll with it. Pittsburgh versus Denver. I'm going to say this right now because we saw it with Denver last week. Bo showed flashes, which I've been saying on the offseason, where Sean Payton's going to program him to be the way he is, but it's going to be like what the Minnesota Vikings were last year, where they have some of the tools, but they're not good enough to. They're gonna lose some stupid football games, kind of like what they did last week. Where hey, when it comes matter to time to win, they're gonna do that. And Pittsburgh's the team we thought they were. I thought Pittsburgh was gonna be in last place, but Pittsburgh is gonna do this again, where they win some games, and then there's some games that they lose, and then there's some games where it's like you had no business winning that. Oh, we're gonna win it anyway. But for a game like this, I was leaning Pitt, but I want to go Denver just because, everyone's thinking, oh, Pittsburgh won last week against Atlanta. They'll do it again this week against Denver. I think this is, and also because Pittsburgh is, I don't know if you saw this, Pittsburgh is the favorite right now.
Yeah.
Those are the games they lose.
Yeah. And this is
before playing the Chargers next week.
Oh, sure. And as a Seahawk fan, this game is so funny. You have the Denver Broncos who are still paying Russell Wilson a god-awful amount of money.
Who might not even travel.
Yeah. And then you got Russell Wilson, who's not going to be playing this game. He's got a boo-boo or something along those lines.
Tight calf.
And yeah. Well, boo-boo, yeah. He's, oh, God, he is just
Got to be professional.
Oh, that's true. He did so good for us. And Russ, I will forever love what you did, but the Hollywood lifestyle got to him, and it's just funny to me. So long story. No, I'm not a big Subway guy as is. So
same.
Oh God, but I think Bo Nix, like, again, I did see some flashes last week. I did. I was really, I didn't know what to expect with my Hawks defense last week, and This one's a coin toss one for me. I don't know if I'm gonna put this one on my ticket. I could go either way. I'm gonna go Steelers because Mike Tomlin going up against rookie quarterback. I feel like they'll be just a little bit more prepared. But this will probably be one of those games. Wouldn't be shocked if it comes down to a field goal.
So here's my thinking with this game. Um, I do think Pittsburgh wins, but I wouldn't be shocked to see Denver win. The other one too is my preferred sub shop is Jersey Mike's. Now that they're slowly coming up north here in Philly.
Yeah, good man.
Yes. But with a game like this, I'm gonna give you an advice from one better to another. Don't put this on your ticket.
I don't
Don't.
plan on it.
There's just some games. So I'm in a spread pool where my dad got me into it with some. I don't even know half the people in it. It's just like, hey, $100 for the year. If you win a week, you get your money back. And that's kind of helped me become a better. So I basically played that. And for that pool, I'm probably going to lean Broncos on the spread, but think Pittsburgh wins the game. This is the same thing as before, where this game could be like 16-13 or like 16 to
Ooh,
14. It's that
yeah.
ugly, like barf bag score kind of game.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. This ain't going on my ticket, I promise you that.
Yeah, no, just avoid it. This next game, though, you may want to put on Sunday Night Football. The Houston Texans in their home opener hosting the Chicago Bears in a game where I've been saying this all offseason since this game was announced and where it is. This is a game where we're going to find out what both teams are. Because I know Houston, because here's the thing. I like the Houston Texans. I don't like Super Bowl contender Houston Texans. I like the Chicago Bears. I don't like the Chicago Bears could go to the Super Bowl Chicago Bears. So this is the kind of game where we're going to find out from both teams what they are because look, Chicago ironically both played. I know one's an AFC South team, but they both played against AFC South. One squeaked out a win against the Titans. One squeaked out a win against the Colts. I'm going to say this for this game. I do think Houston wins this, and this is the kind of because this screams Chicago getting humbled. But when I say humbled, I mean in the sense of like, hey kid, you took it like where it's like when like with fighting when like the fighters after the fight they're like good fight even though one guy's like clean, one guy's like got a welt right here and he's
Oh
like
yeah.
like blood all over his face.
Oh yeah.
I think it's that kind of game. So this is a fun one. I'm going to give you 3 bets for this game. I think Chicago covers at 6.5. I think Houston wins, and I think the over 45.5 hits because
All
I
right.
think people are anticipating defensive battle. Which look, both defenses are good, but at the same time too, you have CJ Stroud who looked really good last week with really good receivers. The only way this bet would backfire though is if Jalen Johnson goes out there and has a game.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, and we're gonna see a little bit more of Mr. Caleb. We're gonna see what he can do and what he can bring. And I'm rooting for the kid. I am. I would really like to see Chicago find a quarterback for the first time in I think ever. That would be
70
wonderful.
years.
Yeah. Oh my goodness gracious.
Sid Luckman.
Yeah. Oh, look at you. I'm probably I don't even want to say probably. I will say Texans in this game. But yeah, Chicago, that defense. Let's keep it close a little bit. And shout out to my boy Roma Dunze. Don't know if he'll be playing in this game. I know he came down with a little bit of a nasty injury, but that's another reason why I'm rooting for those the Bears. Roma Dunze. Get better soon, my man.
Before we get to the Monday Night Football game, one former Husky I was impressed with last week with he made some plays was well, for one, I want Jalen Polk to, but Jalen McMillan down with the Buccaneers.
Oh gosh, McMillan. He was injured for most of last season, but good Lord, when he was healthy, he was right up there with Odunze. I am rooting like crazy for McMillan down there in Tampa Bay.
But what are you going to do Sunday if Jalen Polk catches a touchdown?
Well, as long as we're winning very comfortably. If it's a last second touchdown, I'll be like, yay, go dogs, I guess. But no, I hope he makes a couple of good catches. If it's a touchdown in garbage time, even better. But don't do anything to blow it for our Seahawks there, Jalen, even though he's for the Patriots. So it's, whatever. But long story short, I hope he does well, just not too well.
For sure. And you know what? That brings us almost to the end. We got one more game to do. That would be Monday Night Football with we got a bird battle in the city of brotherly love as the Eagles taking on the Atlanta Falcons, where Atlanta's a 6.5-point favorite. And you know what? I like both. I like Atlanta to win the game, and I like them to win by a touchdown because we saw last week that if you have a team with a good defense, they're gonna be bad. Like, I don't know what happened with Atlanta. They just It wasn't pretty. It didn't look good. I don't know what to think of them. I think everyone, because here's the thing too. The Atlanta Falcons are a drug that a lot of fantasy football users need to stop going back to, where Kyle Pitts, it's his year. Bijan Robinson's going top 10 again, where last year I'm like, what did Bijan Robinson do to impress anyone to go top 10? He was under, I think it was just everyone expecting now that, like, hey, Arthur Smith got fired. They're going to be used. Oh, hey, against stellar defenses, they're going to get crushed. The Philadelphia Eagles have a really good defense. And you know what? Saquon Barkley looked really good in Brazil.
Oh, yeah, he did. Oh, I can taste those Giants tears from here. Oh, man. You know how you fix the Atlanta Falcons? You put in
Mm.
Michael Penix Jr.
Oh my
Is that some
god.
Husky bias showing? That's probably some Husky bias showing. No, I like Cole's, Mr. Kirk Cousins. I like Kirk. But now Eagles fly. Oh god, I can't believe I'm saying this. Fly, Eagles fly in this one. But come on, man, Kirk. I do want to see Penix. Husky bias showing. Just see what we can do.
Yeah. I
But
don't
you
I just
paid Cousins all that money. I get that. I get that.
they really put themselves in a bad position though, where it's like, hey, you have Penix, but he's older. But then you have Cousins, where there's $180 million guaranteed, where you're
Mhm.
only going to play Penix if Cousins gets hurt. So,
Exactly.
yeah, I don't know what's going on with the Atlanta Falcons. But with this game, though, I just think, because I honestly think Philadelphia is going to be, and here's the thing, too, with Dallas Cowboys. I want to pull up their schedule quickly because I know some people are saying Dallas is going to win the division, this, and that. But with Dallas this year, they played Cleveland, they play New Orleans, they get the Ravens next week, and then they get the Giants, the Steelers, and the Lions.
Mm.
Their 2-0 can quickly turn to 3-3 because the
Oh,
Steelers are going to, because I guarantee you the Steelers will be massive underdogs in that game. And that's Sunday Night Football. They have Thursday Night Football at the Meadowlands, and then they have the Dallas Cowboys literally have, I'm looking at their schedule right now. They literally have this is their one of two 1 o'clock home starts the entire season.
jeez.
Yeah, which
Yeesh.
whoever put the Giants and the Cowboys on Thanksgiving needs to rethink their priorities.
Ugh.
Happy Thanksgiving. Here's Daniel Jones getting cooked for 60 minutes.
Oh, good lord. Or maybe something happens, something brews in the water, and Cowboys just don't show up. That would be hilarious, wouldn't it?
It truly
We,
would be.
we could dream.
We can. But no, I just think with this game too, like I said, I think Philly's the better team, and I think Philly. That's the reason too I brought up the schedule with Dallas, because it's like with Philadelphia. Philadelphia is going to kind of show the world where it's like, hey, we're good. We fell and we fell down and embarrassed ourselves towards the end of last season, where Monday Night Football last year, Drew Lock, that beautiful dot to DK, was it to DK Metcalf?
I'm pretty sure it was
Monday
to
Night Football.
JSN.
Oh,
Smith and
that's right. It was the Smith and Jigba. It was like 30 seconds left to win the game.
I was there too, man. That place. Oh man, that was loud. It was such a cool time. Cool thing. Cool time.
Before we go, last question of the day, not sponsored or anything, even though I'm open to it. Do you have any games planned this year to go to?
You know, I always get invited from a really good friend who has season tickets, and it's just kind of like a spur of the weekend sort of thing. So I always
Like
intend
Friday
on
night, you
going.
get a thing.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely will probably end up going to one. I don't know what game though. Now, for those of you who do know me and follow me on social media at A Larson 12th man, cheap plug. You guys know that
It's
I'm a
welcome.
UW season ticket holder, and I will continue to be going to those games. I've already gone to two. We're going to one more. Well, one more. We're going to all of them. This weekend's the Apple Cup, first non-conference Apple Cup ever, and Huskies are a 4.5-point favorite here, but Wazoo, to anyone who is paying attention to West Coast football, Wazoo's not very happy with us. They've never been happy for us. They're our little brother, but they don't like the fact that we left them on the sinking ship. We left for the Big Ten, and we left them with Oregon State on the sinking ship. So anyone who has Peacock or anyone who likes to dabble in those NFL streaming sites on Reddit and find it that way, you're in for a good game this weekend. So I don't know about going to any NFL games this year other than one. You guys can find me at Husky Stadium every home game, every Saturday. And they're playing at Lumen Field in the Apple Cup this weekend. So a little bit different there.
Oh, so you'll be at Lumen Field for the Apple Cup.
I will this Saturday, 12:30 Pacific.
Ooh.
Go Dogs. Close. Wazoo keeps it close, but we beat little brother. Like always, we've won 9 out of the last 10 Apple Cups, so let's make it 10 out of 11.
Why not? And I know this Saturday too with college game day going back to Columbia, South Carolina for the first time in 10 years. They might be,
Yeah.
from what I've heard in the rumor mill, the guest picker might be from WWE, might be NXT superstar Trick Williams. I don't know if you saw that, but he was pulled. Apparently, people said he was pulled. He was a South Carolina wide receiver, so it's kind of like putting two and two together, which I like seeing that, like when the worlds collide, because we already see how Sheamus, for some reason, is Georgia Tech's biggest fan.
Oh, God, what a pick.
Yeah.
Jeez, what a pick.
Yeah, that's us. That's it. But anyway, you know what? All I'm going to say with this Saturday, with Saturday, hopefully your team wins. And then on Sunday, may the best team win.
Yes, sir.
I'm just going to end with me and my rally towel from the one and only Patriots game I've ever been to in my life at Gillette Stadium. But let's see what happens on Sunday and enjoy week 2, folks. We love football.